Enter your PIN number. PIN number 2016 is for broadcast Washington Wild Things at Florence Freedom. Press 1 to start broadcasting. If this is not, your broadcast has started. Waiting momentarily for your streaming to start.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back into the MSA Sports Network's coverage of Washington Wild Things baseball. Wild Things taking Game 1 of this three-game series that had to be finished today by a score of 7-3. We are live from UC Health Stadium in Florence, Kentucky, now for Game 2 of your three-game series between your Washington Wild Things and the Florence Freedom. Hi, everyone. I'm Zach Ziegler, taking you through all the action here in the 2016 season. Wild Things finishing Game 1 of the three-game series this afternoon at 4:05 was the first pitch, and the Wild Things came out on top in that one with a score of 7-3. Zach Groats got the win in the game, and Patrick McGrath got the loss. Groats 3 2/3 scoreless innings out of the bullpen for your Washington Wild Things. Did a great job in giving the team the lead and keeping the team with the lead in the ball game. Wild Things improved to 31-30 on the year, looking to take the series now here in Game 2 of this three-game series, the 7-game variety, as it is the second game we have played today. You're listening to the Washington Wild Things pregame show. Coming up, a recap of earlier today's Game 1 finish, as the Wild Things winning 7-3. Also going to take a look at some scores from around the league. Going to take a quick look at the standings prior to tonight's game, and also going to give you a look at the lineups and the pitching matchup in this one. It's all coming up right here on the MSA Sports Network. Now, it took 2 days and 9 innings, but your Wild Things able to come out on top 7-3 over the Florence Freedom in Game 1 of this three-game series. It started the Wild Things on the board in the top of the first. Andrew Heck and Chris Grayson flew out to start the game. Then Ricky Rodriguez got the first Wild Things hit of the game, lining a ball in the left field for a base hit. Next batter, Dave Popkins, would double. Rodriguez got it at third, so there'd be runners at second and third with 2 men out before Logan Uxa came through with a 2 RBI single that scored Rodriguez and Popkins and gave the Wild Things a 2-0 lead. Then Kyle Pollock would strike out for the first out in that top of the first inning. Bottom of the second, Wild Things would be right back on the board once again. Jimmy Yezzo flew out to start things, but then Jamadric Magruder, a 1-out single and a runner on base with 1 man out. Magruder would then steal second, his 3rd stolen base of the year. Austin Wobrock would ground out, moving Magruder to 3rd with 2 men out, and then a wild pitch brought Magruder home and gave the Wild Things a 3-0 lead. Next batter, Andrew Heck, he struck out, and that ended the inning. Then a couple of scoreless innings for your Washington Wild Things. They sent 3 men to the plate in the 3rd and sent 4 men in the plate to the 4th, but could not get a run across in the game. Wild Things starter Trevor Foss, a little wild in the beginning, and he could not pick up his 9th complete game of the year. First inning, gave up a single to Andre Mercurio. Then Taylor Oldham hit into a fielder's choice before he got a big double play ball from Andrew Godbold. Had runners on base in every inning for Trevor Foss, as he just wasn't the normal Trevor Foss on the night, allowing guys on base. Didn't allow any runs until the 5th inning when the Florence Freedom would get on the board. But first, the Wild Things would score in the top of the 5th. Austin Wobrock single to lead things off, then stole his 6th base of the year, stealing second base, getting a runner at second with nobody out. Next batter, Andrew Heck, would walk, so there'd be runners at first and second with nobody out before Chris Grayson flew out, and that would end the starter Patrick McGrath's day. Patrick McGrath in total went 4 1/3, gave up 4 runs, all earned on 5 hits, 3 walks, and 5 strikeouts for the lefty. Reliever Zach Wendorf came into the game, got Ricky Rodriguez to hit into a fielder's choice. However, scoring on the play was Austin Wobrock. It was Rodriguez's 23rd RBI of the year, and the Wild Things led by the score of 4-0. Then Dave Popkins would fly out to end that top of the 5th. Then in the bottom of the 5th inning, Trevor Foss back out on the mound. Daniel Fraga singled to lead things off against him. Next batter was Mason Salazar. Salazar would single, so there'd be runners at first and second, with nobody out before Travis Weaver hit into a fielder's choice. Mason Salazar was thrown out at second base. Next batter, Andre Mercurio, hit an RBI double that scored Daniel Fraga and made the score 4-1 Wild Things. Then Taylor Oldham was hit by a pitch. The bases were loaded with for the Florence Freedom with just 1 man out, and then the rain started coming down as it delayed the game for 35 minutes before the umpires decided to postpone this one until this afternoon. So fast forward to 4:05 this afternoon. Zach Groats out on the mound relieving Trevor Foss. Foss's final line went 4 1/3, gave up 3 runs all earned on 7 hits, 2 walks, and no strikeouts on the day for the righty Trevor Foss. And the first pitch Zach Groats threw got by Kyle Pollock to the backstop and allowed Travis Weaver to come in to score. That made the score 4-2. Wild Things with still one man out and runners at second and third. Then Andrew Godbold hit a sacrifice fly that scored Andre Mercurio. That made it 4-3 before Isaac Wenrick would ground out to end the inning, and that ended the threat. Then Zach Groats, very good, went 3 complete innings of work, 3 2/3 total, only giving up 1 hit and striking out 5 and not walking a batter in those 3 2/3 innings of work. Wild Things will get on the board in the top of the 6th. Logan Uxa took the first pitch he saw and lined it over the right field wall for a solo home run. It was Uxa's 5th home run of the year, his 3rd RBI of the day, and the Wild Things would lead 6-3. Next batter, Kyle Pollock, struck out looking before Jimmy Yezzo singled, and Jamondrick Magruder grounded out, and Austin Wilbrock struck out to end the inning. Wild Things got back on the board in the top of the 7th. Andrew Heck singled to start things, then Chris Grayson flew out. Ricky Rodriguez would then singles. There'd be runners at first and second with 1 man out before Dave Popkins came through with an RBI double. Heck would score, and the Wild Things would lead by a score of 6-3. Next batter, Logan Uxa, hit a sacrifice fly to right. That scored Ricky Rodriguez. That made it 7-3 Wild Things. Then in the bottom of the 9th, the Florence Freedom tried to threaten against reliever Devin Davis. Leadoff man Josh Henderson doubled to start things. Then Sean Cooper singles. There were runners at first and third with nobody out before Garrett Vale grounded out. And then Mason Salazar hit an RBI single. That scored Cooper from third. And the Florence Freedom cut the lead at 7-4. Next batter, Travis Weaver, would hit into a fielder's choice, and that would end the game. The Wild Things would get the win, improve to 31-30 on the year as they got the 7-4 victory over the Florence Freedom. The winner in that game, Zach Groats. Groats improved to 2-2. The losing pitcher on the day, was Patrick McGrath. McGrath fell to 2-5 on the season. Getting you ready for Game 2 of this 3-game series between your Washington Wild Things and the Florence Freedom. Game 1 finishing up just about an hour ago and getting ready to start Game 2 of this 3-game series. Looking at the scoreboard around the Frontier League, got a full slate of action here for you on this Saturday night. Game 1 between your Washington Wild Things and the Florence Freedom wrapping up about an hour ago. The Wild Things got the win, winning by the score of 7-4. Other action around the league tonight. No other games have started. At 6 p.m. Eastern, the Southern Illinois Miners and the Schaumburg Boomers will do action. Corey Sessions making his Southern Illinois Miners debut, facing off against Brett Mabry for the Schaumburg Boomers. Mabry 1-2. The River City Rascals take on the Joliet Slammers tonight at 6:05. Jake Negretti takes the hill for the Rascals. He's 0-2, taking on Shane Bryant for the Slammers. Bryant is 3-2. The Slammers, the team your Washington Wild Things are chasing. Wild Things currently 3 games back of the Joliet Slammers after picking up the win in Game 1 of this 3-game series. Then the Lake Erie Crushers travel to the Normal Corn Belchers. Juan Caballero takes the hill for the Crushers, 0-0, facing off against Horatio Acosta for the Normal Corn Belchers. Acosta sits at 5-2. Traverse City takes on the Evansville Otters at 6:35 p.m. Eastern Time. Tucker Simpson on the mound for the Traverse City Beach Bums, facing off against Luke Rennie for the Evansville Otters. And the other game in Frontier League play, the Windy City Thunderbolts travel to the Gateway Grizzlies. Tyler Murphy on the hill for the Thunderbolts against Vincent Molesky for the Gateway Grizzlies. Right now, I'm going to send it down to the field for your national anthem. You're listening to Wild Things Baseball here on the MSA Sports Network. We're back here on the MSA Sports Network's coverage of Washington Wild Things baseball, getting you ready for Game 2 of this three-game series between your Washington Wild Things and the Florence Freedom. Wild Things taking Game 1 of this three-game series by a score of 7-4 earlier in the day, looking to take this series with a win here in Game 2 over the Florence Freedom. Going to take a look at the starting lineups for tonight's game as they're announced on the field. Starting with your visiting Washington Wild Things, they enter this one with a record of 31-30. They'll lead off with their second baseman, Jamadric Magruder, batting second at center field. Chris Grayson hitting third at third base. Ricky Rodriguez batting fourth in right field. Dave Popkins hitting fifth at first. Logan Uxa. Sixth behind the plate, Kyle Pollock. Batting seventh, designated hitter Jimmy Yezzo. Batting eighth in left field, Grant Fink. And batting ninth will be the shortstop, Austin Wolbrock. On the mound for your Wild Things is right-hander Chase Cunningham. Cunningham has a record of 3-6 and a 4.25 ERA. For the Florence Freedom, they are taking the field now. They all align like this defensively in the outfield left to right. Josh Henderson, Andre Mercurio, and Andrew Godbold. Left side of the infield held down by Collins Cuthrell and Travis Weaver. Right side held down by Daniel Fraga and Taylor Oldham. Behind the plate is Garrett Vale, catching today's starting pitcher, Tony Vaca. Vaca comes into this one with a record of 0-1, a 4.54 ERA, appearing in his 25th game, making his second start of the year. He's gone 33 and 2/3 innings of work, giving up 36 hits, 21 runs, 17 earned on 16 walks, and 35 strikeouts for the right-hander. Vaca on the hill for the Florence Freedoms. We said his second start of the year. One more reminder of the lineup for your Wild Things. It'll be Jamadric Magruder, Chris Grayson, Ricky Rodriguez. Hitting fourth, Dave Popkins. In the 5-hole at first, Logan Uxa. Batting sixth and catching, Kyle Pollock. Hitting seventh, designated hitter Jimmy Yezzo. Batting eighth in left field, Grant Fink. And batting ninth at shortstop is Austin Wolbrock. Once again on the mound for your Wild Things is right-hander Chase Cunningham, 3-6 with a 4.25 ERA coming into this one. Making his way to the plate to lead things off here in Game 2 of this three-game series is second baseman Jamadric Magruder. Magruder on the year is currently hitting .244 with 1 home run and 5 RBIs. Just about underway here in Game 2 of this three-game series. Vaca has his sign. Here's the pitch. And Magruder takes this one in the outside corner for a strike. No balls and 1 strike. First pitch tonight thrown at 6:04 p.m. Eastern Time. And the temperature outside about 80 degrees. First pitch time and temperature brought to you by State Line Grocery and Hotspot. This one grounded to second. Handled over there by Fraga. His throw into first is in time to get Magruder. And that is out number 1 here in the top of inning number 1. So 1 up, 1 down for your Wild Things here in Game 2 of this three-game series. And that'll bring to the plate the center fielder, Chris Grayson. Grayson on the year currently hitting .301 with 2 home runs and 9 RBIs. That .301 average currently good for a tie for second place on this Wild Things team in terms of average. Tony Vaca looking in, has his sign. He said, here's the pitch. And Grayson takes this one low and outside for a ball. 1 ball, no strikes. 1-0 the count. A little bit of clouds coming over the field here at UC Health Stadium in Florence, Kentucky. But other than that, a great day for baseball. Vaca's 1-0, and that one's low for a ball. 2 balls and no strikes. Wild Things picking up the win in Game 1 of this series earlier today. Had to resume Game 1 as they got a 7-4 victory. Grayson fouls this one back to the screen, and the count goes to 2 balls and a strike. 2-1 the count here on the Washington Wild Things center fielder, hitting that number 2 spot. Has been pretty good in that number 2 spot offensively as of late. The 2-1, and that one's outside for a ball. So Vaca falls behind Grayson. 3 balls and a strike for Tony Vaca on the hill. 1 start in the year, but the longest he's ever gone is 3 1/3 in a game this season. Vaca's pitch, and Grayson pops this one up. Back to shallow center. Mercurio coming in, and he will make the catch, and that's good for out number 2. 2 up, 2 down for your Wild Things here in the top of the first, and that'll bring to the plate the third baseman, Ricky Rodriguez. Rodriguez on the year hitting .302 with 5 home runs and 22 RBIs. That .302 average good for first on the Washington Wild Things team. You had Chris Grayson leading the team hitting .324 prior to Game 1, but now Rodriguez, your leader, hitting .302. Vaca set the pitch, and Rodriguez takes this one at the letters for a strike. No balls and a strike. 0-1 the count. Vaca jumping ahead of Ricky Rodriguez. Here's the 0-1. And that one's outside on the outside corner for a strike as well. No balls and 2 strikes. 0-2 the count here on Ricky Rodriguez, playing third base for the second game here in this series. Here's the 0-2 pitch, a check swing, and Rodriguez went around, so that is a strikeout, the first strikeout of the day for Vaca, and that ends the 1-2-3 go your Wild Things here in the first. After half an inning of play, the score, your Washington Wild Things nothing, and the Florence Freedom coming to bat. Game 2 of this three-game series, your Wild Things getting the win in Game 1, winning by the score of 7-4. Logan Uxa, the star of the game in Game 1, getting 4 RBIs on the day, including a solo home run, a 2 RBI single, and a sac fly on the day. Drove in 4 of the team's 7 runs, and did a great job at the plate for the Wild Things. Chase Cunningham coming to the hill to make the start today, his 12th start of the year, coming off 2 of his worst starts of the season against the Southern Illinois Miners, so looking to rebound in this one. The Wild Things will align defensively like this in the outfield left to right. Grant Fink, Chris Grayson, and Dave Popkins. Left side of the infield held down by Ricky Rodriguez and Austin Wobrock. Right side by Jamadrick Magruder and Logan Uxa. And it'll be Kyle Pollock behind the plate, catching Chase Cunningham on the day. Cunningham enters with a record of 3-6, a 4.25 ERA, appearing in his 12th game, making his 12th start. He's thrown 61 and a third innings pitched, giving up 58 hits on the year, 30 runs, 29 earned, striking out 26, and walking 20 in those 61 and a third innings of work. The lineup for the Florence Freedom looks like this. They'll lead off with their center fielder, Andre Mercurio. Batting second at first base is Taylor Oldham. In the third spot in right field, Andrew Godbold. Batting fourth, designated hitter, Austin Newell. Batting fifth at third base, Collins Cuthrell. Batting sixth in left field, Josh Henderson. Hitting seventh and catching, Garrett Vale. Batting eighth at second base, Daniel Fraga. And batting ninth at shortstop is Travis Weaver. On the mound for the Florence Freedom, as you saw, was Tony Vaca. Vaca entering this game with a record of a record of 0-1 with a 4.54 ERA, making his second start of the year. Chase Cunningham looking for a rebound start. Did not go 5 innings in either of his last 2 starts. His 2 worst starts of the year. Went 4 1/3, gave up 5 earned runs against Southern Illinois his last time, and 2 times ago went 4 and gave up 7 earned runs against Southern Illinois in that start. Andre Mercurio making his way to the plate here to lead off the bottom of the first. Mercurio on the year hitting .309, no home runs, and 11 RBIs in the leadoff spot for the second straight game for the Florence Freedom. Leads the team with that .309 average. Chase Cunningham looks in, has his sign. Here's the pitch, and that one's high and outside for a ball. 1 ball, no strikes. 1-0 the count here on Andre Mercurio. And for Chase Cunningham, it's been a little wild in those last 2 starts, so it looks to be more consistent in the strike zone. The 1-0, and that one's outside as well, so Cunningham falling behind the first batter he faces here. 2 balls and no strikes. There was a string where Cunningham in the beginning of the season had not given up more than 3 runs in a ball game. Not going his way, however. This next pitch outside for a ball, and he falls behind Andre Mercurio to start this game. 3 balls and no strikes. 3-0 the count. Chase Cunningham has his sign. Here's the pitch. And that one's in there for a strike on the inside corner. Count goes to 3 balls and 1 strike. 3-1 the count. Umpires for tonight's game. Behind home plate, Andy Dodonis. And on the bases is Brian Miller. Cunningham has his sign, the 3-1. And that one swung on and fouled back to the screen. So the count will go full. 3 balls and 2 strikes. Cunningham fighting back after falling behind 3-0 in the count to Andre Mercurio. Has the count full now. Taylor Oldham, the on-deck batter for the Florence Freedom. Chase Cunningham looks into Kyle Pollock. Cunningham has his sign. Here's the 3-2 pitch. And that one hits off the hand of Andre Mercurio. A hit by pitch, and the leadoff man is on here in the bottom of inning number 1. Mercurio reaches base, and that'll bring to the plate the first baseman, Taylor Oldham. Oldham on the year, currently hitting .303, 8 home runs, and 47 RBIs. That .303 average good for third on the team. Oldham making his way to the plate. So Mercurio reaches after a hit by pitch, and as we were talking about, Cunningham has been very wild in his last couple starts here against Southern Illinois. He walked 6 in that last game against Southern Illinois, walked 3 the game before that, but just hasn't been around the strike zone. And when he's not around the strike zone, he's not a guy who's going to do well. Doesn't have blow it by his stuff, so he's got to work on staying on the corners and getting the ground balls that he's used to. Oldham at the plate. Cunningham has his sign. He's set, checks first, and the pitch on the way. Oldham showing bunt. He'll get this one down. Rodriguez charging, bare hands, throws to first, and it's not in time. It's a bunt single for Taylor Oldham, and the first two men reach here for the Florence Freedom against Chase Cunningham. So there's runners at first and second with nobody out, and that brings up the right fielder, Andrew Godbold. Godbold on the year is currently hitting .296, 9 home runs, and 34 RBIs. His 9 home runs is good for first on this Florence Freedom team, and the 34 RBIs have him tied for second on the team behind Taylor Oldham, who stands at first base. Chase Cunningham looks in, has his sign, he's set, checks Mercurio at second, and the pitch. And Godbold checks swing to first, hands to 1 ball and no strikes here on Cuthrell. 1-0 the count, nobody out, bottom of the third, 3-0 the Florence Freedom lead. Cunningham has his sign, the 1-0. And Cuthrell takes this one outside as well. Count goes to 2 balls and no strikes. 2-0 the count here on the Florence Freedom third baseman. Mason Salazar played third in game 1, and Salazar ended up going 2 for 4. Pitch, and Cuthrell hits this one to left center field. Grayson going back to the track, nearing the wall. He leaps, and that ball is gone. A solo home run for Collins Cuthrell, and the Florence Freedom extend their lead. They now lead 4-0 over your Washington Wild Things. A solo shot for Collins Cuthrell. Chris Grayson giving it all he could, running all the way back to the wall and leaping, but could not make that catch for Cuthrell. It is his 9th home run of the year, and the Freedom take a 4-0 lead. That'll bring to the plate the left fielder, Josh Henderson. Henderson, no official at-bat to this point, walked his first time and stole second base. Henderson was a DH in game 1 and ended up going 2 for 3, single, double, and a walk. This first pitch, and that one's taken low for a ball. 1 ball, no strikes. 1-0 the count here on Josh Henderson. 4-0 the Florence Freedom lead, the 1-0, and that one's inside for ball 2. 2 balls and no strikes, the count to the Florence Freedom left fielder. Played DH in game 1 of this series. Cunningham's 2-0, and Henderson takes this one for a strike on the outside corner. 2 balls and a strike. So 4 runs given up by Chase Cunningham. And almost got Josh Henderson, but Henderson in there with a double. So back-to-back hits to start this bottom of the third. A solo shot for Collins Cuthrell and a double for Josh Henderson. Now there's a runner at second with nobody out, and that'll bring to the plate the catcher, Garrett Vale. Vale so far in the day 0 for 1 with a flyout. Isaac Wenrick caught game 1 of the series. Wenrick ended up going 0 for 3, 3 ground outs and a walk. Cunningham has his sign. He's set, check second, the pitch. And that one's high for a ball. 1 ball, no strikes. 1-0 the count here on Garrett Vale, and that'll start action in the Washington Wild Things bullpen. Brian O'Keefe, the one warming up out there. Kyle Pollock will go in to talk to Chase Cunningham, try to calm him down a little bit here in this third inning. Nobody out. Josh Henderson, the runner, at second. Back-to-back hits against Cunningham started this inning. A solo home run by Collins Cuthrell and a double by Josh Henderson have put the Florence Freedom out 4-0 over your Wild Things. Cunningham has his sign, check second, the 1-0. And that one's in there for a strike at the knees. Count goes to 1 ball and 1 strike. 1-1 the count here on Garrett Vale. Nobody out, bottom of the third. Josh Henderson taking his lead from second base. Cunningham looks in, has his sign, checks second, and the 1 ball, 1 strike pitch. And this ball hit foul off to the right. This one's hooking towards the stands and will land in the stands foul, and the count goes to 1 ball and 2 strikes. 1-2, nobody out. Cunningham trying to get the first out here in this bottom of the third inning. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Cunningham, no strikeouts to this point, has walked, 1 man in the game. Cunningham has his sign, checks second, and the 1 ball, 2 strike pitch. And this one grounded softly to the left side and foul over by the Wild Things dugout, and the count remains 1 ball and 2 strikes. 1-2 the count here on Garrett Vale. Nobody out, bottom of the third. Florence Freedom lead 4-0 over your Washington Wild Things here on the MSA Sports Network. Chase Cunningham looks in. Cunningham has his sign. He's set, checks second, and the 1 ball, 2 strike pitch. And Vale lines this one to the right field, and that is a base hit. Henderson's going to be waved to the plate. Here's Popkins' throw. Henderson now will put on the brakes as a good throw there by Popkins, holding Henderson at third. It's the 3rd straight hit to start this inning, and now there are runners at first and third with nobody out, and that brings up the second baseman, Daniel Fraga. Fraga so far on the day 0 for 1, and in yesterday's game, Fraga ended up going 1 for 3. Fielder's choice, single score, and a strikeout on the day. So Fraga coming to the plate. Now manager Greg Langben coming out of the Wild Things dugout, making his way to the mound, and now we are going to have a pitching change here for your Washington Wild Things. So Chase Cunningham, not a very good outing today. He goes 2+, giving up 4 runs in the contest. Brian O'Keefe will come in and be the new pitcher for your Washington Wild Things. So Cunningham's night is done. The final line on Cunningham went 2+ innings of work in this one, has so far given up 4 runs, 2 earned, still responsible for both men on base, has given up 7 hits in this contest, walked 1, and did not strike out a batter. So not a very good outing there for Chase Cunningham, and now that brings on the long reliever for your Wild Things, Brian O'Keefe. O'Keefe, the lefty. O'Keefe entering this game with a record of 2-0 on the season. His ERA sitting at 3.46. He appearing in his 15th game, has made 2 starts on the year, has gone 26 innings, giving up 23 hits, 12 runs, 10 earned, 7 walks, and 24 strikeouts for the Wild Things. Left-hander will be charged with trying to keep men on base here. Nobody out. Runners are at first and third. 3 straight hits to start this bottom of the 3rd inning against the starter Chase Cunningham. A solo home run by Collins Cuthrell. It was Cuthrell's 9th home run of the season. Then Josh Henderson would double and Garrett Vale singled. A strong throw by Dave Popkins, keeping Henderson over there at 3rd base. Brian O'Keefe, his last time out, was actually a start against Southern Illinois. Started Game 3 of that 3-game series back on July the 24th at Southern Illinois. Only went 4 2/3 in that one. Gave up 6 runs, 5 earned on 7 hits, walked 2, and struck out 4. Was actually rolling along in that game. And in the 5th inning, he kind of hit a roadblock as he got all 5 runs in that 5th inning. And that led to an eventual loss. Wild Things were leading 10-1 in that game and lost by the score of 12-10. So Brian O'Keefe making his 15th appearance out of the year, his 13th out of the bullpen. The first man he'll be tasked with facing here in this bottom of the 3rd is Daniel Fraga, as we said. Fraga is 0 for 1, hitting in the number 8 spot in the lineup for the Florence Freedom. Brian O'Keefe concluding his warm-up tosses. Again, Chase Cunningham can only go 2+ in this one. Has given up 4 runs, 2 earned to this point on 7 hits, walking 1 and striking out nobody in the game so far. Daniel Fraga making his way to the plate, 0 for 1 to this point against the new pitcher, Brian O'Keefe. Fraga in yesterday's game went 1 for 3, single, strikeout, and a fielder's choice in the ball game. So Brian O'Keefe coming into this ball game. Josh Henderson, the runner at 3rd, and Garrett Vale, the runner at 1st. Brian O'Keefe has his sign, checks first, and the pitch. Fraga showing bunt, pops this one up. Brian O'Keefe coming in and making a running catch. A great play there by Brian O'Keefe, athletic off the mound. Thought he was going to go into a dive, but he didn't have to as he makes the running catch, and that is out number 1 here in the bottom of the 3rd. Nice running catch there by Brian O'Keefe, and that brings to the plate the shortstop, Travis Weaver. Weaver so far on the day, 1 for 1, singled and scored a run back in the 2nd, and in yesterday's ball game, Weaver would end up going 1 for 4, singled, hit into a fielder's choice, struck out, and hit into another fielder's choice on the day. O'Keefe has his sign, checks first, and the pitch on the way to Weaver. And this ball popped up, foul off to the right. He'll get back into the seats, and the count goes to no balls and a strike here on the Freedom shortstop. Number 9 hitter in the order. Runners are at 1st and 3rd with 1 man out. Josh Henderson standing at 3rd, and Garrett Vale standing at 1st. Henderson doubled and Vale singled in this ball game. O'Keefe has his sign. He's set. Here's the 0-1, and that one swung on and missed by Weaver, and the count goes to no balls and 2 strikes. 0-2 the count on Travis Weaver. For Brian O'Keefe, he'll get his strikeouts, 24 strikeouts in 26 innings of work. So he's done a very good job in the strikeouts to innings pitched ratio. O'Keefe has his sign, the 0-2 pitch. And that one's in the dirt, blocked by Kyle Pollock, and the count goes to 1 ball and 2 strikes. 1-2 the count here on Travis Weaver. Brian O'Keefe, second pitcher on the day, used by the Washington Wild Things. O'Keefe has his sign, he's set, and the 1 ball, 2 strike pitch. And a swing and a miss. Brian O'Keefe strikes him out, and that is the second out here in the bottom of the 3rd. O'Keefe coming in and leaving those runners right where they are at 2nd and 3rd to this point, and that'll bring up the leadoff man, Andre Mercurio. Mercurio so far on the day is 0 for 1, hit by a pitch in the 1st, and grounded out in inning number 2. Bottom of the 3rd, 4-0, the Florence Freedom lead over your Washington Wild Things. Chase Cunningham started this game, gave up 4 runs, and only 2 of those earned in the contest. Brian O'Keefe, the reliever, on now. Lefty on lefty matchup. Brian O'Keefe looking in. O'Keefe has his sign. He's set, checks first, and the pitch on the way to Mercurio. And that one's in there for a strike at the knees. No balls and a strike. 0-1 the count here on the leadoff man. Brian O'Keefe, one of 2 long relievers out there in the bullpen for the Wild Things, O'Keefe and Sam Agnew-Wieland. O'Keefe has his sign, checks first, and the 0-1. And that one's in there for a strike. Count goes to no balls and 2 strikes. 0-2 the count with 2 men out, bottom of the third. O'Keefe trying to keep those runners right where they are at second and third. Andre Mercurio stepping back in here against O'Keefe. O'Keefe looks in, has his sign, he's set, checks first, and the no ball 2 strike pitch. Taking off for second is Vale. This one grounded towards short. Wobrock will handle it, throw on to first, and it's in time for out number 3. However, the Florence Freedom do get another run in the inning on 3 hits, no errors, and 2 men left on base. After 3 innings of play, the score, the Florence Freedom 4 and your Washington Wild Things nothing. So Chase Cunningham, not a very good start for the 3rd start in a row. His final line officially only goes 2 innings plus, giving up 4 runs, 2 earned on 7 hits, 1 walk, and no strikeouts on the day for Cunningham. Meanwhile, his opposition, Tony Vaca, has been very good on the day, has not allowed a hit through 3 innings of work. His only base runner is a walk to Dave Popkins to start the 2nd inning, and Popkins was actually thrown out, caught stealing to end that inning. So Vaca's faced the minimum through 3 innings to this point, and for not only making 1 start on the year so far, he's done a very nice job here in this one. The longest he's ever gone in a game is 3 1/3 innings. So he'll be looking to best that here today. That 3 1/3 was the last time out for Tony Vaca. As we said, in his last start, it was on July the 6th, went 3 innings in that one against Southern Illinois, gave up 1 run. It was earned on 4 hits, 3 walks, and 2 strikeouts on the day for Vaca. So Vaca in here now. Last inning for the Washington Wild Things, Jimmy Yezzo flew out to start things. Then Grant Fink grounded out, and Austin Wobrock would ground out to end the inning. Due up here in the top of the 4th, Jamadric Magruder, Chris Grayson, and Ricky Rodriguez, 1, 2, and 3 men against the righty Tony Vaca as your Wild Things look to get their first hit here in this ball game. The Wild Things had a stretch back last week where they hadn't got their first hit in back-to-back games until after the 5th inning, hoping to get their first hit here in the 4th today against the Florence Freedom. Tony Vaca done with his warm-up tosses, and that'll bring to the plate the second baseman, Jamadric Magruder. Magruder so far in the day 0 for 1, and Magruder in earlier's game went 1 for 4 with a single, strikeout, and 2 groundouts on the day. Nobody out here in the top of the 4th. 4-0, the Florence Freedom lead over your Washington Wild Things. Magruder at the plate. Tony Vaca looking in to his catcher, Garrett Vale. Vaca has his sign. He's set. Now time is called again as they're waiting for the in-game festivities to get off the field. It's video game night here in Florence, Kentucky. A lot of video game characters throughout the ballpark. Vaca has his sign, the pitch. Magruder showing bunt and takes this one inside for a ball. 1 ball, no strikes. 1-0 the count here on Jamadric Magruder. Wild Things trying to get to Tony Vaca here in this 4th inning. Vaca looks in, has his sign, the 1-0. And this one grounded to third. Handled over there by Cuthrell. Throw to first, bounces, but handled by Taylor Oldham at first. Nice pick by Oldham over there. 5-3 on the putout, and that's out number 1 here in the top of the 4th. That'll bring up the center fielder, Chris Grayson. Grayson so far 0 for 1, popped out to center field his last time up in the 1st. Top of the 4th, 1 man out, 4-0. The Florence Freedom lead over your Washington Wild Things with Grayson coming to the plate. Grayson in yesterday's game went 0 for 5, flew out 3 times, struck out and grounded out in the ball game. Broke a 3-game hitting streak for Grayson. Vaca has his sign. Here's the pitch. And that one's in there for a strike on the inside corner. No balls and a strike. 0-1 the count. Tony Vaca rolling through 3 1/3. Has his sign, the 0-1. And this ball hit to center field. Andre Mercurio running over, and he leaps, and he can't make the catch. It's off the wall. Grayson around first, heading to second, and he will stop there as a strong throw in by Andre Mercurio keeps him there. It's the first hit of the day for your Washington Wild Things. A double for Chris Grayson. There's a runner at second, one man out, and Ricky Rodriguez coming to the plate. Andre Mercurio doing all he could to try to make that catch. Dove, but just couldn't get his glove high enough to make the catch. So Chris Grayson will be on second with one man out, and that'll bring to the plate the third baseman, Ricky Rodriguez. Rodriguez in this one so far 0 for 1 with a strikeout on the day. Rodriguez in yesterday's ball game ended up going 2 for 3, 2 singles, a fielder's choice, an RBI, a walk, and a hit by pitch. Mercurio showing off the speed over there in left center field. Dove, but just couldn't get to the ball, and Grayson on second. Vaca has his sign. He's set. Checks second and the pitch. And a swing and a miss there by Rodriguez, and the count goes to no balls and 1 strike. That's the first hit on the day for the Wild Things. 4 runs, 7 hits, and no errors for the Freedom. No runs, 1 hit, 1 error for your Wild Things. Vaca looks in, has his sign, checks second, and the 0-1 offering to Rodriguez. And a swing and a miss there by Rodriguez, and the count goes to no balls and 2 strikes. 0-2 the count here on the Wild Things third baseman. 1 man out in the top of the 4th. 4-0 Florence leads here in Game 2 of this 3-game series. Tony Vaca looks in, has his sign, checks second, and the no-ball 2-strike pitch. And that one's outside for a ball. Nice block behind the plate by Garrett Vale, and the count goes to 1-2. Ricky Rodriguez, 23 RBIs on the season, trying to drive in his 24th as Chris Grayson standing out there at second base. Tony Vaca looking into Garrett Vale. Vaca has his sign, he's set. Checks second, and the 1-ball 2-strike pitch. And Rodriguez hits this one to left field. Henderson going back to the track, and it dies on the track as Henderson will make the catch, and that's out number 2. Chris Grayson acted like he was going to tag up, but he ends up staying at second, so there's a runner at second, 2 men out, and that brings to the plate the right fielder, Dave Popkins. Popkins so far no official at-bat to this point as he walked his first time in inning number 2. Popkins in game 1 of this series ended up going 2 for 5, 2 doubles, also into a double play, a flew out, and struck out on the day. 2 outs and a runner at second. Tony Vaca looking in. Vaca has his sign, checks Grayson at second, and the pitch on the way. And Popkins takes this one high and outside for a ball. 1 ball, no strikes. 1-0 the count here on Dave Popkins out there in right field for the Wild Things. One of 4 representatives on the All-Star team for the Wild Things right here in Florence, Kentucky. Vaca has his sign. He's set the 1-0. And that one's outside for a ball, so the count goes to 2 balls and no strikes. 2-0 the count here on Dave Popkins. 2 men out in the top of the 4th. 4-0 the Florence Freedom lead over your Washington Wild Things. Tony Vaca looking in. Vaca has his sign. He's set. Checks second. And the 2-ball, no-strike pitch. Throw back to first, and Grayson is picked off at second base. Grayson picked off for out number 3, and that will end the inning. No runs in the inning for the Wild Things on just 1 hit, no errors, and nobody left on base. After 3.5, the score, Florence Freedom 4 and your Washington Wild Things nothing. Chris Grayson picked off at second base. A good move there by Tony Vaca as Grayson had a pretty big lead over there at second base and just was unable to get back following that pickoff move. So Brian O'Keefe coming back out for his first full inning of work. Came in to relieve, actually he did get all 3 outs in the 3rd inning. So technically a full inning of work for him already in the ball game. So looking for his 2nd full inning of work. Chase Cunningham only goes 2+ innings in this ball game. Gave up 4 runs, 2 of those runs earned on 7 hits, a walk, and no strikeouts. Brian O'Keefe in to relieve him. Now O'Keefe, we were talking about last time out, was a start against Southern Illinois in which he gave up 6 runs, 5 of those earned in 4 2/3 innings of work against the Southern Illinois Miners. But other than that, has been very good out of the Wild Things bullpen. Those 5 earned runs and the most he's given up all year. His worst outing out of the bullpen came on May 29th at the Schaumburg Boomers, where he went 2 1/3, gave up 2 runs, both earned on 3 hits, in an 11-3 loss for the Wild Things. So O'Keefe has been very reliable out of the pen for your Wild Things. Last inning for the Florence Freedom. Collins Cuthrell led off the inning with his 9th home run of the year, a solo shot over the left field wall, and that gave the Freedom a 4-0 lead. Next batter, Josh Henderson would double. Then Garrett Vale singled. There were runners at first and third with nobody out, and that would be it for Chase Cunningham. Brian O'Keefe would then come in, got Daniel Fraga to pop up to the mound, then struck out Travis Weaver and got Andre Mercurio to ground out to end the inning. Due up here in the bottom of the 4th, Taylor Oldham, Andrew Godbold, and Austin Newell, 2, 3, and 4, facing off against Brian O'Keefe. Taylor Oldham making his way to the plate right now. Oldham so far 2 for 2 on the day. Singled and scored a run in the first and singled in inning number 2. Oldham in game 1 of this 3-game series ended up going, 1 for 3. Fielder's choice double, hit by pitch, and a strikeout. Brian O'Keefe looking in. O'Keefe has his sign. He's set, and the pitch on the way. And that one's just outside for a ball, so O'Keefe falling behind the first batter here in the bottom of the 4th. 1 ball, no strikes. 1-0 the count, only playing 7 innings here in game 2 of this 3-game series, the 1-0. And that one's inside for ball 2. 2 balls and no strikes. As if you play 2 games in a row, the second one's got to be 7 innings, so just playing 7 today. O'Keefe's 2-0, and that one's inside, so falls behind Taylor Oldham. 3 balls and no strikes. 3-0 the count, nobody out. O'Keefe looking in, has his sign, and the 3-0 pitch. And that one's inside, ball 4. 4-pitch walk to start the bottom of the 4th, and the leadoff man reaching base for the 3rd time in 4 innings for the Florence Freedom. That'll bring to the plate the right fielder, Andrew Godbold. Godbold so far on the day is 1 for 2, hitting to a fielder's choice and scored a run in the first, and then hit a RBI single in inning number 2. Stepping up here in the bottom of the 4th, 4-0, the Florence Freedom leads over your Washington Wild Things. Brian O'Keefe looking into Pollock. O'Keefe has his sign, checks first, and the pitch on the way. And that one's in there for a strike to Godbold. No balls and a strike. 0-1 the count. Brian O'Keefe on the mound, looking to give the Wild Things some innings in this one. A long reliever for your Washington Wild Things, facing off against Andrew Godbold. Brian O'Keefe looks in, has his sign, checks first base, and a throw over there. And getting back is Taylor Oldham. Oldham on the year currently has 16 stolen bases in 63 games played. So Oldham, a guy worth watching over there at the first base bag. O'Keefe has his sign, the 0-1, and that one's outside for a ball. Count goes even at 1 ball and 1 strike. 1-1 the count here on Andrew Godbold. Nobody out, bottom of the 4th. Leadoff man reached on a 4-pitch walk by Brian O'Keefe. O'Keefe has his sign, he's set, and the Florence Freedom lead over your Washington Wild Things. Andrew Godbold, the runner at first. Brian O'Keefe looks in, has his sign, he's set, and the pitch on the way. And that one swung on and missed there by Cuthrell, and the count goes to no balls and 1 strike. 0-1 the count here on the Florence Freedom third baseman. Cuthrell, a utility man for the Florence Freedom, plays both the outfield and infield for the Freedom. O'Keefe set, here's the 0-1, and this one popped foul off to the right. It'll get back into the seats, and the count goes to no balls and 2 strikes. 0-2 the count here on Collins Cuthrell, batting from the right side against the left-hander Brian O'Keefe. O'Keefe looking in to his catcher, Steve Sulkowski. O'Keefe has his sign, checks first, and the no-ball 2-strike pitch. Taking off for second is Godbold, and this pitch is fouled away. The count will remain 0-2 here on Collins Cuthrell. No balls, 2 strikes, 2 men out. Brian O'Keefe on the hill, throwing from the left side. Facing off against Collins Cuthrell. Andrew Godbold took off for second base there with 2 outs and an 0-2 count. Godbold on the year does have 15 stolen bases in his 58 games. O'Keefe has his sign, he's set, and the no-ball 2-strike pitch. And this ball ground to the left side and just foul past the third base bag. The count remains no balls and 2 strikes. 0-2 the count, 2 men out, bottom of the 6th, 5-1. The Florence Freedom lead over your Washington Wild Things here in Game 2 of this 3-game series. Brian O'Keefe looking to go 4 innings here in this one. It's just given up 1 run to this point. Brian O'Keefe looking into Steve Sulkowski. O'Keefe has his sign, checks first, and the 0-2 pitch. Taking off for second again is Godbold. Pitch outside. Solkoski's throw. And Godbold in there with his 16th stolen base of the year. So they have a runner at second with 2 men out as they look to add some insurance runs here in the bottom of the 6th. 5-1, the Florence Freedom lead over your Washington Wild Things. Collins Cuthrell hitting from the right side as O'Keefe trying to retire him. 1 ball, 2 strikes. O'Keefe has his sign, checks second, and the 1-2 pitch. And this one ground to the left side, past the diving Rodriguez and into left field, a base hit. Godbold will come around third, he'll score. The throw into second will hold Cuthrell with a single. It's an RBI single for Cuthrell, and now the Florence Freedom leads 6-1 over your Washington Wild Things. Andrew Godbold comes in to score. It is now 6-1. The Florence Freedom over your Washington Wild Things, and that brings to the plate the left fielder Josh Henderson. Henderson so far in the day is 1 for 1, walk, double, and a sac fly on the night for Henderson. The second run of the day allowed by Brian O'Keefe for Collins Cuthrell. That is his second RBI of the day. Pitch is high for a ball. 1 ball, no strikes the count here on Henderson. So for Cuthrell, those are RBIs, number 35 and 36. O'Keefe looks at first, has his sign, and the 1-0 pitch. And that one's low for a ball. Count goes to 2 balls and no strikes. 2-0 the count here in the bottom of the 6th. 2 men out. Brian O'Keefe trying to get through this 6th inning of work and get his team to the bat racks in the top of the 7th. The Freedom have scored a run in all but the 5th inning in this game. O'Keefe has his sign, the 2-0, and that one swung on a miss, and the count goes to 2 balls and a strike. 2-1 the count here on Josh Henderson, the left fielder for the Florence Freedom. 2 men out in the bottom of the 6th. You're listening to the MSA Sports Network. We're here from UC Health Stadium in Florence, Kentucky. Game 2 of this 3-game series between your Wild Things and the Florence Freedom. O'Keefe has his sign, checks first, and the 2-1. And that one swung on and missed, and the count goes even at 2 balls and 2 strikes. 2-2 with 2 men out here in the bottom of the 6th. 6 runs on 11 hits for the Freedom. 1 run, 2 hits, and 1 error for your Washington Wild Things. Brian O'Keefe looking in. O'Keefe to Steve Solkoski. O'Keefe has his sign, he's set, and the 2-2 pitch. And this ball fouled off, so the count will remain 2 balls and 2 strikes. 2-2 the count here on Josh Henderson. Runner at first is Collins Cuthrell, driving an insurance run for the Florence Freedom here in this one. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 men out. Brian O'Keefe facing the left-handed batter, Josh Henderson. O'Keefe has his sign, he's set, and the 2-ball, 2-strike pitch. And this one, ground to the right side. Magruder has it. He'll throw on to first, and that's in time for out number 3. However, the Freedom get another run in the inning on 2 hits, no errors, and 1 man left on base. After 6 innings of play, the score, the Florence Freedom 6 and your Washington Wild Things 1. Wild Things coming to the bat racks here in the top of the 7th. They're going to need 5 to tie or 6 to take the lead here in the top of the 7th of this 7-inning game, and that will be the end of the day for Tony Vaca. Vaca very good on the mound so far on the night for Florence. He went 6 innings of work, gave up just 1 run. It was earned on a total of 2 hits, only walked 1, and would strike out 4 on the night. So a very good start for Tony Vaca, making the spot start in this game. Now coming on to pitch for the Florence Freedom in this one will be Ethan Gibbons. Gibbons, the right-hander for the Florence Freedom. So Gibbons in for Tony Vaca here in the top of the 7th. And for Ethan Gibbons on the year to this point, Gibbons has a record of 2-2 with a 5.17 ERA, 8 saves on the season for Gibbons, appearing in his 30th game, has thrown 31 1/3 innings of work, giving up 31 hits, 20 runs, 18 earned, 10 walks, and 41 strikeouts on the year for Ethan Gibbons. Due up to face him here in the top of the 7th for your Wild Things. And the final inning of this ball game, Chris Grayson, Ricky Rodriguez, and Dave Popkins, 2, 3, and 4, facing off against Ethan Gibbons. So Tony Vaca, a very good start to start this ball game. 6 innings, giving up just 1 run and only 2 hits on the day. Wild Things offense not able to solve them. See if they can get to Ethan Gibbons here with nobody in the top of the 7th to try to tie this game or take the lead. If they don't, they'll pick up their 31st loss of the season. Last inning for the Wild Things. Jimmy Yezzo flew out, then Grant Fink tripled with one man out, and Austin Wobrock would deliver an RBI ground out that scored Fink and made the score 5-1 at that point. Then Jamadrick Magruder struck out to end the inning. So the Wild Things will test their luck with right-hander Ethan Gibbons, as again, he will face 1, 2, 3, Jamadrick Magruder, Chris Grayson, and Ricky Rodriguez to start off this inning. Actually, sorry, Chris Grayson, Rodriguez, and then Dave Popkins, 2, 3, and 4 to start off this top of the 7th inning. Chris Grayson making his way to the plate. Grayson so far in this one, 1 for 2, popped out in the first and doubled in inning number 4. Nobody out, top of the 7th, 6-1, the Florence Freedom lead over your Washington Wild Things here in this ball game. Grayson bats from the left-hand side against the righty Ethan Gibbons. Grayson enters this game standing at 6 foot 215 from Monroe, Los Angeles. Gibbons has his sign, he's set, and the pitch on the way. And that one's in there on the outside corner for a strike. No balls and a strike. Gibbons jumping ahead of the first batter he faces here in this top of the 7th inning. Gibbons has his sign, he's set, and the 0-1 pitch. And that one's on the outside corner as well, so Grayson falling behind the Gibbons here. No balls and 2 strikes. 0-2 the count with nobody out, top of the 7th. Wild Things trying to come back in this game and avoid falling to 31-31. Gibbons has his sign and the 0-2 pitch. And this one lined up the middle. Watch out, Gibbons. That's a base hit for Grayson. Almost a scary moment came right back at the head of Tony Vaca. Hard, sharply hit there by Grayson. There's a runner on with nobody out. Gibbons is okay as it missed him, and he'll stay in the game. Third baseman Ricky Rodriguez coming to the plate. Rodriguez so far 0 for 2. Strikeout and a flyout in this ball game. Runner at first, nobody out. The Wild Things try to fight back. Down by 5 runs here in the top of the 7th. Gibbons has his sign, he's set, and the pitch on the way. And Rodriguez takes this one low for a ball. 1 ball, no strikes. 1-0 the count. Grayson, the runner at first. 8 steals on the year. Currently leads the Wild Things team. Gibbons, the right-hander, looking into Ricky Rodriguez. Has his sign. He's set. And the 1 ball, no strike pitch. And that one's outside for a ball. Count goes to 2 balls and no strikes. 2-0, nobody out. Gibbons allows that leadoff single, and now behind the second man he's faced in this game, 2-0. Wild Things trying to string together a couple of hits and start a rally to come back in this 7th inning. Gibbons has his sign, the 2-0 pitch. And a swing and a miss there by Rodriguez, and the count goes to 2 balls and 1 strike. Rodriguez going a little bit out of the zone for that one, but he'll stand back in, 2-1 the count. 2 balls and a strike, nobody out. Runner at first is Chris Grayson. Gibbons has his sign, he's set. And the 2 ball, 1 strike pitch. And that one's small and a miss by Rodriguez. Big hack there, and the count goes to 2 balls and 2 strikes. 2-2 the count, nobody out. Top of the 7th, 6-1, the Florence Freedom lead over your Washington Wild Things. Rodriguez trying to keep a rally going here in the top of the 7th. Gibbons has his sign, he's set. The 2 ball, 2 strike pitch. And that one's in the dirt. Gets away from Garrett Vale, and Chris Grayson will move up on the wild pitch. So now the Wild Things are runner at second with nobody out, and a 3-2 count here on Ricky Rodriguez. On deck batter is Dave Popkins after Ricky Rodriguez. Actually, they're going to give Rodriguez a stolen base on that one. So Grayson's 9th stolen base on the year to this point. Ethan Gibbons looks in. Gibbons has his sign. He's set. And the 3 ball, 2 strike pitch after a check to second. Here it comes. And that one's outside, ball 4. So a walk here to Ricky Rodriguez, and there are runners at first and second with nobody out here in the top of the 7th. And the right fielder, Dave Popkins, coming to the plate. Popkins so far in the day is 0 for 1, walked in the second and flew out in inning number 5. First 2 men reaching here in the top of the 7th for the Washington Wild Things. Garrett Vale goes out to talk to Ethan Gibbons, trying to calm him down. Gibbons relieving the starter, Tony Vaca. Vaca 6 innings in this one, gave up 1 run. It was earned on 2 hits. Walked one batter and struck out 4. Ethan Gibbons facing off against Dave Popkins. Gibbons looking in, has his sign, he's set, checks second base, and the pitch coming to Popkins. And that one swung and a miss by Popkins. No balls and a strike. 0-1 the count on the Wild Things right fielder. Wild Things got to tie this game if they want the game to continue. Top of the 7th, nobody out. 6-1 the Florence Freedom lead. Playing it like a doubleheader here, only playing 7 in this game. Gibbons has his sign, the no ball, 1 strike pitch. And that one's in the dirt outside. Gets away from Vale. Grayson and Rodriguez will both move up. So now there's runners at second and third with nobody out as the Wild Things trying to start something here in this top of the seventh, down by 5. Now 2 men in scoring position for their right fielder, Dave Popkins. And Popkins, the leader on this team in RBIs, has 34 on the season, looking to expand upon that here in this one. Gibbons 1-1, and Popkins in the right field, and this one will fall for a base hit. Grayson will score. They'll hold Rodriguez at 6-2. Florence Freedom. Grayson coming in to score. Popkins' 35th RBI of the year. It's now 6-2. Florence Freedom, and runners at first and third, nobody out. Logan Uxa coming to the plate. Logan Uxa on the day so far, 0 for 2, a strikeout and a groundout, 6-2. The Florence Freedom lead. Wild Things get a run here in the top of the seventh as they look to tie this game or take the lead here against Gibbons. Gibbons has his sign. He's set. And the pitch to Uxa. That one's low for a ball, and the count goes to 1 ball and no strikes. Tying run on deck for the Wild Things here in the top of the seventh with nobody out. Trying to start a rally. Ethan Gibbons looks in, has his sign, he's set, checks third, and the 1 ball, no strike pitch. Uxa pops this one up. Shallow left field. Out goes Travis Weaver. Weaver calling for it. He'll make the catch, and that's out number 1. So 1 away here in this top of the seventh. Pop up for Logan Uxa. Still a run came into the inning on the Popkins RBI single, and that brings to the plate the catcher Steve Solkoski. Solkoski, his first Wild Things at bat of the year in his Washington Wild Things debut. 1 man out, runner at first and third, Rodriguez at third, and Popkins, the runner at first. Looking in is Gibbons. Gibbons has his sign. Here's the pitch. And Solkoski takes this one outside for a ball. 1 ball, no strikes. Steve Solkoski came in the bottom of the sixth as a defensive replacement for the Washington Wild Things. Looking in is Ethan Gibbons. Gibbons has his sign. He's set. And the 1 ball, no strike pitch. And Solkoski hits this one to right field. It's hooking down the line and will land foul. The count goes to 1 ball, 1 strike on the Wild Things catcher. Steve Solkoski coming to the Washington Wild Things from, the Ottawa champions of the Can-Am League, making his Washington Wild Things debut here tonight. Coming into the bottom of the sixth, Solkoski behind the plate. And Steve Solkoski for the Ottawa champions as Gibbons set, has his sign. Here's the pitch, and this one's fouled off, and the count goes to 1 ball and 2 strikes. Now Solkoski for Ottawa in 2016 ended up hitting 176 for the Ottawa champions before coming to the Washington Wild Things. Solkoski at the plate. Runner at third is Rodriguez. At first is Popkins. Here's the 1 ball, 2 strike pitch. And that one's low and in for a ball. Count goes to 2 balls and 2 strikes. 2-2 the count. Wild Things trying to battle back here in game 2 of this 3-game series against Ethan Gibbons. They have a run in already in the top of the 7th inning, looking to add more. Gibbons has his sign. He's set. And the 2 ball, 2 strike pitch. And Solkoski takes this one low for a ball. 3 balls and 2 strikes. 3-2 the count here on Steve Solkoski. Runners at first and third, 1 man out. Jimmy Yezzo, the on-deck batter, if Solkoski should reach. Ethan Gibbons looking in to Garrett Vale. Gibbons has his sign. The 3-2 pitch. And Solkoski pops this one up foul back into the stand, so he stays alive with the count at 3 balls and 2 strikes. 3-2 the count. Solkoski batting from the right side against the right-handed pitcher Ethan Gibbons. Righty on righty matchup. 3-2 the count. 1 man out. Runners are at first and third. Gibbons has his sign. He's set. The 3 ball, 2 strike pitch. And a foul ball by Solkoski. So again, staying alive here against Ethan Gibbons. 1 man out, top of the 7th. 6 runs, 11 hits for the Freedom. 2 runs, 4 hits, and an error for the Washington Wild Things. Ethan Gibbons looking in. Gibbons has his sign. He's set. And the 3 ball, 2 strike pitch. And Solkoski pops it up. Foul territory off to the right. Taylor Oldham camped under it, and he'll make the catch. That's out number 2. 2 away for the Washington Wild Things here in the top of the 7th, and that'll bring to the plate the designated hitter, Jimmy Yezzo. Yezzo so far in the day, 0 for 2. Flew out in the 3rd and flew out in inning number 6. Last chance for the Washington Wild Things, down 6-2 here to the Florence Freedom as they've tried to battle back in this ball game. Yezzo batting from the left side against the right-hander Gibbons. Rodriguez the runner at 3rd, Popkins at 1st. Gibbons has his sign and the pitch. And Yezzo takes this one outside for a strike on the outside corner. No balls and a strike. 0-1 the count on Jimmy Yezzo. Yezzo, a native of Cherry Hill, New Jersey. Gibbons has his sign. He's set. The no ball, 1 strike pitch. And that one swung on a miss, and the count goes to 0-2. No balls, 2 strikes. Wild Things down to their last strike here in this ball game, trying to get a 2-out rally going. With 2 strikes now on Jimmy Yezzo. Ricky Rodriguez at 3rd, Popkins at 1st. Gibbons has his sign, he's set. The no ball, 2 strike pitch. And called strike 3. Jimmy Yezzo strikes out, and this ball game is over. Final score, the Florence Freedom take this one from your Washington Wild Things, 6-2. Final line, 6 runs on 11 hits, no errors for the Freedom. 2 runs, 4 hits, and 1 error for your Washington Wild Things. The winning pitcher in this one, Tony Vaca, goes to 1-1. The loser, Chase Cunningham. Cunningham falls to 3-6 on the season. Washington Wild Things post-game show here for you. Wild Things drop this one 6-2 to the Florence Freedom here in Game 2 of this 3-game series. Scoring recap for you. The Florence Freedom got started early on offense just as the Wild Things did in Game 1 of this 3-game series. Andre Mercurio was hit by a pitch to start the game. Then Taylor Oldham singled to their runners at 1st and 2nd with nobody out. Then Andrew Godbold hit a ground ball to Logan Uxa at 1st. Uxa threw to 2nd base, but Austin Wolbrock apparently not on the 2nd base bag. So that was not an out. The bases were loaded with nobody out. Then Cunningham looked like he was going to get out of it as he got a 1-2-3 double play. As the ground ball back to the mound, Cunningham threw to the plate for 1, through the 1st for the 2nd out of that inning. But then Collins Cuthrow, a routine ground ball to shortstop, bounced under the glove of Austin Wolbrock. That allowed 2 runs to score. Oldham and Godbold would come in, and the Freedom took a 2-0 lead in the bottom of inning number 1st. Then in the bottom of the 2nd, the Florence Freedom jumping back on the board. Daniel Fraga popped out to start things off. Then Travis Weaver singled before Andre Mercurio grounded out. Weaver moved up to 2nd. Taylor Oldham then singled. There were runners at 1st and 3rd with 2 men out before Andrew Godbold came through with an RBI single. That scored Weaver and made the score 3-0 Freedom. Then Austin Newell flew out to end that inning. Freedom back on the board in the bottom of the 3rd. Collins Cuthrow started off the inning with a solo home run. His 9th home run of the season, tied him with Andrew Godbold for the team lead, and Florence took a 4-0 lead. Josh Henderson would then double, Garrett Vale would single, and that would be all for your starter, Chase Cunningham. Cunningham went 2 innings in the game, gave up 4 runs, 2 earned on 7 hits, walked 1, and did not strike out a batter in the ball game. Then Brian O'Keefe came into the game for your Wild Things. O'Keefe got Daniel Fraga to pop out with the bases loaded and nobody out. Travis Weaver struck out, and Andre Mercurio grounded out to end the inning. Then in the bottom of the 4th, again, the Freedom back on the board. Taylor Oldham walked to start things, and Andrew Godbold doubled. There were runners at 2nd and 3rd, nobody out. Austin Newell would strike out. Collins Cuthrow would walk, and then Josh Henderson hit a sacrifice fly. Taylor Oldham would score, and the Freedom, led by the score of 5-0. Collins Cuthrow was doubled up at 2nd base on that sacrifice fly. Then Brian O'Keefe settled down, allowed 1 more run in the game in the 6th inning. As Taylor Oldham popped out, Andrew Godbold singled, stole 2nd. Austin Newell struck out. Collins Cuthrow then hit an RBI single that scored Godbold, made the score 6-1 at that point. And Josh Henderson grounded out to end the inning. The Wild Things getting their first run in the top half of the 6th. Jimmy Yezzo flew out. Then Grant Fink tripled, getting the 3rd with 1 out for Austin Wolbrock in an RBI ground out. That scored Fink and made the score 5-1 at that point. Then Jamonrick Magruder struck out to end the game. Tony Vaca was great in this game. Went 6 innings, gave up just 1 run. It was earned on 2 hits, 1 walk, and 4 strikeouts for the right-hander. A new season high in innings pitched with 6 on the year, giving up just that 1 run on 2 hits against your Wild Things. Wild Things tried to fight back in the top of the 7th. As in that top of the 7th inning, Chris Grayson singled to lead things off, then stole second. Ricky Rodriguez would then walk. Runners were at first and second. Then another wild pitch allowed the runners to move to second and third with nobody out before Dave Popkins came through with an RBI single. Grayson scored. That made the score 6-2. Next batter, Logan Uxa popped out. Then Steve Solkoski came into the game for Kyle Pollock. He popped out, and then Jimmy Yezzo struck out to end the game. Final score, Florence Freedom win this one 6-2, game 2 of this 3-game series. The winning pitcher, Tony Vaca, 1-1. The losing pitcher, Chase Cunningham, falls to 3-7 on the year. Next Wild Things broadcast tomorrow night, 6:05 first pitch between your Washington Wild Things and the Florence Freedom. Matt Frodden will take the mound for the Washington Wild Things, looking to improve upon his 4-4 record. Has done pretty well his last couple times out. 7 shutout innings, 2 starts ago, and then 6 innings last time out. Gave up just 1 run in that last start against Normal. So he'll look to continue on his good string of starts coming up tomorrow night in Game 3 of the 3-game series. For the Florence Freedom, on the mound tomorrow night will be Jordan Krause. Krause coming off being named the Week 11 Frontier League Pitcher of the Week. So a tough matchup for your Washington Wild Things tomorrow. Your Wild Things star of the game in this one, Brian O'Keefe out of the bullpen. Goes 4 innings of work, gives up 2 runs. Both of those runs earned. Did a very good job out of the bullpen after the 4th inning of keeping the Florence Freedom off of the scoreboard. Allowed the run in the 4th inning and a run in the 6th inning. But other than that, a clean day for him. In total, he gave up 3 hits in the outing, struck out 5, and walked 1 batter on the day. So a good outing there from Brian O'Keefe out of the bullpen. He's your Washington Wild Things star of the game. Once again, tomorrow night's broadcast can be heard at 6:05. Matt Frodden taking the hill for your Wild Things, facing off against Jordan Krause. Be sure to tune in then. But the final score tonight from UC Health Stadium in Florence, Kentucky, the Florence Freedom take this one by the score of 6-2. Thank you for listening to the MSA Sports Network's coverage of Washington Wild Things baseball, and have a good night, everybody.
MSA Sports. Press 1 to resume or 3 to end broadcast. Your broadcast has been ended.